Welcome everybody to Remix on Meetup. If your New Year's resolution was to go to a meetup, congratulations, you're done. You can rest for the rest of the year. I'm super happy everyone's here. Very surprised, honestly. Definitely with I feel like Texans and cold, we don't do well. So I think because it wasn't wet, y'all were like, I can do this. I gotta get out. So thank you everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we've been running this meetup we're coming up on our third year. Wait, is that right? That can't be right. There's no way.
Year number 3, but not.
Thank you. I'm terrible at math. I only studied it for like 4 years. Anyway, yeah, we have completed our second year, which is crazy. No, that's not right. We started in 22. We had to. That's crazy. Anyway, if you've been here since the beginning, thank you. And if this is your first time, thanks for coming. So this is a monthly meetup we have to just talk and share all things Remix and React Router and just everything that the Remix team works on. Today we have a pretty cool speaker. I think you've returned speaker. You've spoken before. Yeah, Dustin's going to be talking about building static sites with React Router 7 and just playing around with NDX and all that good stuff. Won't spoil all of that. I don't have much of an agenda or many updates from like the Remix side of things necessarily, except to say like React Router 7. If you haven't checked it out, that's our latest major version of React Router. It brought all the goodness that we had in Remix to React Router, so now you can use React Router as just like a library, just like you always have, or you can use it as a framework, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's what we got, and then we got the Remix team has a lot of cool stuff they're working on. Started really fleshing out a roadmap, so stuff is actually on GitHub that you can look at, but I won't say much more than that and let you dig for yourself until we make official announcements on what we're doing. Yeah, without further ado, if you're ready, Dustin.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Dustin Mihalik. I'm going to try to project. My voice doesn't carry very well, so just let me know if you have trouble hearing me. So we're talking about React Router 7 static rendering. I'm currently working in Indeed. I used to do Remix and React and JavaScript stuff. Now I do AI stuff. I do AI platform stuff. There's a lot of Python there, but I still try and do some JavaScript. This is like my personal site, and I use JavaScript for that. My last name at Gmail, if you want to send me an email, or my last name on Blue Sky, if you want to send me a message on Blue Sky. So I'm going to show off my personal blog / website. It's really terrible. I feel embarrassed to show it, but we're here and we're gonna show it off. So I'm gonna npm run dev to look at the local version, and I'm gonna refresh here. So this is my website. It's really ugly, very simple. There's an about page, there's a contact page, there's a blog. Some of these posts are really old. I've owned this domain for like 20 years, and I had some posts, and I was involved in other communities, and now I haven't posted anything in a while, but I decided to make this static HTML, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. About 3 years ago, this was like a WordPress site, and I converted it to Svelte Kit, static site generation on the pre-release version of Svelte Kit. So I did Svelte Kit at Next, npm installed that, and then I didn't touch it for a while, 3 years. I tried to run it again, at Next or at Alpha or whatever it was. Didn't exist anymore. They had upgraded a couple of versions. I couldn't figure out how to migrate it. Brooks said, hey, React Router 7 has pre-rendering and is coming real soon. I waited until React Router 7 was released this time. I learned a lesson. Wait until my version I'm using is 7.01, so it's still fairly old. But I got it quite a bit early. So this is some history. I don't have any slides. I have some notes. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this kind of like back in the day, before we had GitHub, I would sometimes do code reviews like in person. Like you would sit behind a person and they would like explain how their code works, or try to explain how the code works. So I'm going to run this kind of like a code review. We're just going to look at some code. I will try to explain how it works. I'm not a React router expert, but maybe we have one in the room. But we'll look at some documentation. We'll look at some code. We'll figure out how it works. So this website is hosted on Cloudflare Pages, which is a good way to host static sites. Cloudflare Pages, you can also run JavaScript and have it do dynamic sites as well. I just make a bunch of HTML files and dump them in a directory. Cloudflare Pages has a cool thing where you can hook it up to a Git repository, and you could say, anytime you push to main, run npm run build, and then take the output out of this folder and just serve it as HTML. So that's what happens here. Try to get rid of some of these Zoom windows. So yeah, npm run build, and then it takes this build/client folder. If we go back to Visual Studio, we can look at the build/client folder. This is big enough everyone can see, right? This is pretty big. Cool. And if we look, there's an HTML file in here. If we get rid of this, there's an HTML file in here. It still has a bunch of JavaScript in there, thanks to React Router. But if we look here at the top, it says welcome to Remix, which is not quite right. But yeah, there's a bunch of HTML at the top, which is statically generated. And then also in this folder, there's some assets. There's a bunch of JavaScript files in here that does like client side loading and client side navigation. But it's mostly just static HTML files. There's an about in here. So this is the this is that about page. It's very simple HTML. Cool. So back to my notes actually. All right, I'm navigating Visual Studio here. I expected this to be a little higher. Cool. Yeah. So how did we get started? So I started with a blank directory because my Svelte install was so messed up. I started with blank directory. I went to reactrouter.com and I looked at this framework page. So there's two versions of React Router 7, two flavors. Modes?
That's how we usually call it. Yeah.
Okay. So there's library mode, and this is the React Router that you're potentially used to if you've used React Router before, which is you have an existing React application. It deploys in some standard fashion, and then you want to do some routing, either client side. I guess you could do it server side too. Or there's framework mode, which is the new mode with React Router 7, which adds some extra stuff and essentially does a lot of things that Remix did. And so it has data loading and it has actions. All those things can kind of run on the server. So I wanted framework mode because I wanted to do static site generation. And when you create a new React Router 7 framework application, you get mostly this app directory with some routes, and then you get this routes.ts, which is kind of the entry point of your application. And this is, like I said, this is the brand new. We'll look at mine in just a second. This is kind of the entry point of your application. And then there's a root TSX, which is basically this is a React component that wraps every page that gets rendered by your application. And so this is where your HTML lives, and then this children is where your application gets injected. So mine is very similar. Right, my root has a little bit more HTML in it, but it's still, for the most part, looks about the same. The default one now has some error boundary handlers here. Mine didn't have that. Mine didn't come with that. So I need to add those. I need to add those at some point. But otherwise, mine looks basically the same. My routes is a little bit different. So what I have is I still have this routes directory. This is where I put like what I would consider my static pages. This is my index page. This is my about page. This is that about page that we looked at. We've seen a couple times now. And those live in the routes. I also have all those blog posts. I didn't want those to be in the same folder, so I put them in this like separate articles directory. And in order to do that, routes. All right. Yeah, we'll look at routes here. So this my routes is slightly different, but it's not too bad. So the /app/routes that you get for free with this flat routes method. And I feel like when I set mine up, when we looked at that other one, it said there was like a specific route. I think mine used flat routes. Maybe I found flat routes. Anyway, everything from the app routes directory gets included with flat routes. And then in order to get the articles directory, I had to do some slight tricks here. It's still flat routes, but it comes from the articles directory, and then that gets mounted under /articles. And then I also have a root component that wraps all those article pages. I was going to put some extra stuff in there. It was going to be like title and whatever. I ended up handling all that with MDX. So my article root doesn't really do anything. We can look at it here, but it's basically just an empty component that has an outlet in it. If I wanted to make those pages look different, I could, and that's why I have that here. But it's not useful. Yeah. So this remember this flat routes pulling in all the files, because this becomes very important in a few minutes. So all of these, if we look at one of these blog posts, all of these are .mdx files. So MDX is like JSX for Markdown files. Basically, you can put JavaScript in. So this export meta title thing is actually JavaScript that will execute on this page. You can put React components in here. You can render some template stuff. MDX is, I don't know, it's fairly cool. I have had a lot of trouble getting MDX files to work with older versions of Remix. I had a little bit of trouble getting it to work with SvelteKit. With React Router 7 and Vite, it was super easy. All I had to do was install this MDX plugin for Vite, and then I've got a couple extra MDX specific plugins that I'll talk about in a minute. But basically, when I install the MDX plugin, all of a sudden, if I have an about page that's just an MDX file, and I put that in my routes directory, when I go to /about, it just works. What happens when Vite imports it, it turns it into a React component that looks just like any other JSX file, essentially. So this made it super easy for me to not write a bunch of HTML. I still have like the index page, which still says remix app. Don't know why. But yeah, the index page is it's a React component, but most of the other pages is I just like writing Markdown or MDX files. So how do we get the list of pages? Right, so there's this archive posts thing, which that's mine. Go back here. We're generating this page. We're generating this page here, which is all the posts. And the thing that we do is similar. If you've used Remix, or I think loaders existed in React Router before 7. You used some version of React Router that had loaders. Basically, loaders are where you fetch your data. So if you export a loader from a file, it gets called before your component, and then the data gets passed in as this loader data into the React component. So in this case, I call get posts, which we'll look at in just a minute. And then that gets passed into my component, and I just run through the posts.map. So this front matter is kind of interesting. So when we looked at that, we looked at the MDX file. It is a -- and it had a couple things at the top. That's called front matter, which is some sort of standard for metadata that exists within a Markdown file. And with the front matter plugins for Vite, when you import the component that comes out of an MDX, you also get all the front matter data with it. So in this particular case, I load all the posts, and I can get the title and the date based on the front matter that's at the top of that file. How do we load all the posts? Vite has this really cool feature that is this import glob, which I've got somewhere. It's worth looking at the docs for this. This one. Import glob is kind of cool. So you can basically you can pass a path, and you can put a splat in it, and it'll load all the files that are within that match that particular thing. So by default, it will lazy load all those modules. So it gives you the path and then the actual module name. If you pass eager true as a parameter, then it will not lazy load. It will just import all of those. It'll import all of those files and give you an object that has all those files within it. So for my list of blog posts, I can import glob star.mdx, which gives me an object that I want to turn into a map, because I want to turn into an array so that I can sort it so I can sort by date. Doesn't matter that much. I get the front matter data, so I can use that to do the date sort. The import gives me the file names, which have like .mdx, and the file names have dots in them. So I do a little thing to turn it into the path. But essentially, this imports all the article modules and does a little bit of sorting on them, and then we can generate them right here. Yep. Show all my notes. Cool. So, Vite Cloud import gets all the stuff. Now, the static site rendering. That's the next trick. I thought this was going to be difficult, especially because I thought I had a bunch of I had a bunch of random pages, but it turns out that there's this pre-render true Boolean that you can pass in your React router config, and it will try and render all the static paths that are available in your application. So anything that's dynamic that has like variables in it, it obviously can't render those. But it turns out because I did 2 flat route imports for my routes, it found all the pages. So if we get out of npm rub dev, we npm run build, it takes a couple seconds, and it runs through every file and it generates the HTML for them. And like I said, for whatever reason, I thought it was going to be difficult, especially because I read this and I saw there were a couple other options for pre-render, but it turns out pre-render true worked for me, and it's kind of magic. So the other options for pre-render, which are useful in a lot of other cases, you can pre-render specific routes. So if your index route is static, it's never going to change. But then once somebody logs into your app, you don't want to pre-render that. So you kind of list here's all the pages that are not going to change. I'll just make them HTML and pre-render them. They'll work.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Wouldn't line 6 also cover line 9? Like if pre-rendering is true for all static route paths, wouldn't line 9 also be static route paths?
Yeah.
Meaning there's no dynamic segments?
Yeah, I think actually, that's a good question. Like if you passed in post/123.
But even if you just commented out 9, wouldn't 6
Oh yeah.
also?
This is actually, these are the 3 examples. These are the examples. So you do this one or this one or this one.
Yeah. Or the function, which then you have total control. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, this is the documentation for pre-render. There are 3 signatures for pre-render. Yeah, I kind of jumped into the middle of this. Yeah, so this one you can selectively choose. This one, if you have some dynamic pages or you need to load data out of CMS, or if I, for whatever reason, put all my blog posts in a CSV file or something, I could make a function that would read that CSV file, and then I could say, these are the pages that I want you to generate, and then it would be static like that. So there were 3 options. The first one worked for me, which was way easier. So that basically gets me this, and it creates index.html files for all of these. If you wanted to name your things slightly differently, potentially you could do it. But this worked for me, and it was very easy to just then deploy that with Cloudflare. So there's one other file that's in here, which is this atom.xml. So if you've got a blog, the way that you tell things that might want to know if you've updated your blog, if it's updated or not, is either with RSS or Atom, which is the newer format, which is an XML format that has these are the posts that exist on the site, and these are the contents of the posts that exist on the site, which XML. I wish I never had to do XML again. Unfortunately, in this case, I had to generate XML, but I used a library to do it, so it wasn't too bad. So if we look, if you've used Remix before, if you want to generate a .xml file, but you need it to be TSX file, you can use some clever naming to generate the routes. And then this, once again, if you've used Remix and you don't want to generate HTML in your loader, you can just return a response that is the data that you want. And that works in React Router 7, and that also works within the static pre-rendering of React Router 7. So this generates an XML file. If we look down here at the bottom, this is the loader. There's no React component for it. It's just the loader in this file. Then we return a response that says that it's that comes from this thing that we built, which we'll look at in a second. And I set the content type. I don't think I have to do this for pre-rendering because it's not actually returning a response and it's not actually setting a header. But I set the appropriate content type here anyway. So I won't go into too many details here. This is a little bit interesting because I had MDX files that I wanted to render as HTML to include inside the XML. So I used React DOM render to static markup to render the MDX files, and I had to. There's like there's a trick to evaluate an MDX file. This worked. This is the way that I figured out how to do it. But yeah, it loads the MDX file, but it didn't render it, and I had to run this evaluate sync method on it, and then render that to static markup. But that's how I got the HTML for the individual posts out of MDX. But the thing to learn here is that you can, like if you wanted to generate JSON or you wanted to generate something else and still have that be statically rendered, you can still use React Router 7. You just put your stuff in the loader function and then return whatever content it is that you wanted to render. And that's really it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
When you're looking at the generated files, there were like the atom.xml, there was also atom.xml.data. Do you know what those .data files are?
I'm not. That's a good question. Let's look at it.
Brooks?
Sorry, I got slacked. What was the question?
XML.data.
Yeah, so I have this atom.xml.
Yeah.
I also have atom.xml.data, and I don't know what
That's
that
generation data.
What is that JSON data? It's kind of weird.
Oh, this is probably the
Yeah.
data that comes back from the loader, right? Because
Yeah.
So both I've got a .data file for the archive, which had a loader, and I have hydration data, or I have .data file for this. So this is probably the specific data that came back from the loader.
It's a little goofy that it makes that twice, but I guess it's just trying to pre-render that.
Yeah.
We should maybe, I don't know. It's not a big deal. Like, and you could also, you could avoid pre-rendering it, but I think it's just trying to pre-render that. And so, yeah, it's just giving you the same thing kind of twice, basically.
Yeah.
Because with a pre-rendered, like with a route that's pre-rendered, the way it works is when you're transitioning to it, it actually like pulls in that loader data, even though it's like static.
Yeah.
Then it uses that as data.
The .data file?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah. So my XML file, I don't know that I would ever navigate
it's a little excessive.
Yeah.
It's an extra file. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
There's some other. I looked at the server folder as well, which is actually pretty crazy because I import every file as a thing, so it's like one giant server that has everything in it. But I don't do anything with the server, so yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Other than Brooks's influence, how did you land on doing React Router 7 for this? Was it just like comfort with Remix, or I'm just kind of curious how you ended there from Svelte?
Yeah, there's a little bit of comfort for Remix. I don't know. Every time I do like a personal project, I want to like try something new or learn something new. So this was really a try something new to learn it. There are a lot of other static site generation tools that are designed specifically for static site generation that I should probably have used instead. But this was, like I said, this was a fun learning experience, and I I am very familiar with Remix, and I like know Remix, and I can hit the ground running. And I thought that this was close enough to Remix that I would learn something, but also be able to hit the ground running. Yeah. If you're gonna make a blog that has static stuff, this is probably not the best way to do it, but it works for me.
Is your repo public?
It is not. It could be. There's nothing secret in here. Yeah, I can make it public. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I'm logged in. Let's see. Is it public? Yep, it says private. Settings.
While he's doing that, one suggestion might be go check out the MDX plugin in Visual Studio Code, and then you'll have that nice, pretty code formatting.
Well, there's also a TypeScript plugin from MDX now that'll do type checking on all of your JavaScript inside of an MDX file.
Nice.
That work? Public. I want to make this public. I read and understand these effects.
So make sure you do it one more time.
Public. Make it public.
Okay.
Make it public. MDX. MDX is no extension that were official on. So he said text highlighting, and then there's other stuff like a chain for TypeScript support.
Well, that's a question, but I'm sort of just like curious about this type of thing and integrating it more with CMSs. I don't know. I think developers generally like to write Markdown because we write it everywhere. Like, you know, the PRs, etc. Like Markdown's kind of everywhere on the internet, especially in dev places. But I'd be curious to see like what this would look like if it's using a CMS file in hood too, like just as an example. So
yeah, I think that like the thing that I think is kind of cool about this, like this is obviously what you would want to use if you were doing this from a CMS. You can build it to where it can be not statically site generated or statically generated. So you could use like the same code base, and you could make a decision, or you could say all the posts that are older than 2 years are statically generated because I'm not going to touch them again. But all the new posts, I want to be able to update them and have them update very quickly. There's some kind of cool things you could do. The same code base, you could choose what to statically generate or not. I think it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Do you know if it's possible to just pre-render a layout and not its children?
I do not. That's a good question, though.
No,
basically,
That would be helpful.
rendering is only based on like the full URL, and like, well, if the layout doesn't have a URL, like it doesn't really make sense. But
that's basically server islands, right? Like that's the concept there is that like you could render everything around it statically and then call what's
I mean,
in
it's
it
really
dynamically.
anything that any of those SPA frameworks do, where they will pre-render the shell. They call it like app shell pre-rendering, and then you just put suspense in the middle there and load that as a SPA essentially. But that kind of stuff, I feel like is helpful.
If you use a client loader to load the data,
can do that.
Should fall back, maybe. Something like that.
I have no idea how to do that in React Router. I recently did that in Astro. I know exactly how to do it there. So, yeah. I'm sure it's possible, though. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, but from an SEO standpoint, yeah, router 7 and pre-rendering, like whenever the top player pages wherever like the server response, is Remix putting it all together, or React Router putting it all together in JavaScript, or is it there?
it's in HTML. Like it's a statically generated. Unfortunately, I should probably.
I guess my question is it like in a normal HTML document that
The like SEO like a Google crawler was. So a little bit of context. I can talk here. Maybe some of y'all were at it. I work at a company called Beehive. We have 50,000 active customers that use like multi-tenant site that's built on Remix previous version before React. Or actually, no, we just upgraded to React to Router 7, and we specifically chose Remix for that specific. Like to answer your specific question, is of the frameworks, it is kind of out the box, very good at SEO. Even on server rendered pages, it's pretty good about like if you're good with your caching strategy, getting a crawler, a very very compiled page that it likes in a way that a lot of the other frameworks aren't.
Yeah. So this is the HTML for that page. It was all in one line in some of things, but this is the formatted version. But yeah, it's just standard HTML. Eventually you get down to this like script tag, and it has some stuff for client side routing. If you want to do that, like after you visited the page, it'll client side route. But if it was Google would get Google wouldn't use this JavaScript to navigate the site. They would just grab every page. So for SEO purposes, this is pretty good. And these files, there's a bit like this is only 200 lines. It's not too bad. We can look at, let's see, Dustin, reveal and finder. Okay, there's 6K, so it's fairly small. There's not that much JavaScript on it.
How many blog posts were there total that you were building on build?
It's like 20 or something. It's
Okay.
not that many. I think with like if there were a lot, this would not be the method that I would choose, right? I would use something that had caching and whatever, so that it would only generate the new stuff instead of the old stuff. Like I realize that this is not the optimal route for that.
I was just curious on build times, how long it takes you to build any amount of pages, home Cloudflare pages this way. Like, what is your like from push to main to like it generating all these routes to it being live with any updates? And I'm also assuming that it builds every single one of those blog posts every time you deploy, rather than like, hey, these are the ones that have been altered.
This deployment duration was
That's
28
nice.
seconds.
You go back to your terminal, it'll also say how long it took to build like all those pages.
Oh yeah, well he was asking about specifically.
Is there, well, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was
But the actual build is
this was
half a second.
Yeah, half a second. But Cloudflare like has to npm install everything and whatever. But it's 30 seconds. Let's see what the one before that was. Yeah, 30 seconds. Yeah, but it's not too bad. I would, but the other option is you build it locally and then you check in all the files and then you ship that off. This, I don't know. I could, in theory, like use the GitHub editor to like write something and then hit save, and then it would deploy.
Yeah, the pipeline makes sense. I think SSG has just always been weird once you get the scale, because it's like that build time goes up very drastically, very quickly. Like,
I didn't test anything more than just the 30 or so pages that I generate in server side generation. Yeah.
What is the, I guess I'm not familiar with MDX. What is the JavaScript in those articles doing?
In this JavaScript here, that's on this page.
no, in the MDX files, I think. So,
Yeah, the export meta. So let's see. We'll look at one articles. I think this one is the only one that does this. So this stuff at the top is the front matter. So the title and date, and then you can put JavaScript here. This one here, the way that you set the title of your pages in React Router is to have this meta variable that is exported. So if I wanted to set the title of the page for an MDX file, this is how I figured out how to do it. there might be some other tricks, but this I don't know. This worked okay for me. Basically, like this is my template for creating a new blog post, which it all as long as I set the title and the date, it'll put the title and the date on the page, and it'll set the title of the page to export that or to the title.
Did you put your loader? A loader? Would that work? I don't know if you can do it like.
Well, you could export.
I don't know if you can make use of it. I'm just curious.
Yeah, you could.
You could do a font loader, actually. I think. You wanted to load something hydrated. It'd be
Yeah.
ugly.
I think you probably could.
How would you consume that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, I guess you could use loader data, but how would you consume it as props?
You'd use a component basically and import it, and then that would like talk to it. MDX, I like love and hate MDX at all times.
exactly.
Actually using it for all the components and stuff is kind of a pain in the ass.
It's MDX is a huge hack. It also
it really is.
For my personal stuff, it works just fine. But yeah, it's definitely a hack. And putting JavaScript in it, because you can put JavaScript in it. You can put React components in it.
Yeah.
Like if you had, I don't know, whatever, Smile, right? You could import this, and you could put a React component in, and it would render a React
Yeah, they
component.
could use loader data inside that, and
Yeah.
theoretically, and the whole works correctly.
I read a developer docs that work in MDX. I hate my life sometimes because of that. Like,
It's really
Yeah. So you can do this. I did a very minimal version of it. But yeah, I imagine that if you did a lot of it, it would be kind of a pain.
I think if you're doing iterative development in an agile manner, MDX is a good way to deliver something before you enable the full CMS integration or something.
definitely easier to maintain.
Yeah, and if you I've seen a lot of people use MDX for like interactive, like, hey, it's for documentation, or for like here's a blog post I wrote that has a graph in it, or a blog post that has some sort of interactive element in it. You can kind of mix the two together and not have to write everything in JSX.
Yeah, it's nice when you want a visual element you built for something else to translate really nicely. You just call the React magic works.
Yeah.
It came to mind in the SEO discussion, but something that I did is I say we did the Atom.xml thing. I did a sitemap generator that pulls from my database. You could do that and just not rely on the crawler, but actually just like tell it what exists.
Definitely. Yeah, I considered doing a sitemap for this as well.
But yeah,
It's a kind of overkill for.
it's super easy. Like, yeah, very easy.
Yeah, it would be easier because I wouldn't have to hydrate the MDX files. So it would be a lot easier than the XML file. Going once, going twice. All right.